That's exactly what it is. Very good. Well, we'll go ahead and get this started. An interesting mix right now because I'm a combination, and this is a mistake to let any professor do. I'm the moderator of a session that I'm presenting in, so the saving grace here is that Amy is going to keep us in line, and we'll make sure to not run over line. But I have the distinct pleasure of actually co-presenting with Amy Jang, assistant professor from the University of Laverne, about 30 miles outside of Los Angeles, and Tara Radnick, who is also assistant professor and colleague of mine at the University of Nevada, Reno. So without further ado, I'll step back. What we're really talking about today is the most, in my opinion, I think in our opinion, some of the most exciting work that's happening right now is how all of this makerspace activity and creative activity is sort of combining together and triggering a whole lot of innovation and even, God forbid, entrepreneurship. So it's really sort of exciting. I'll step back then and welcome Amy Jang.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Jiang from University of Laverne. So today we're going to be focusing on makerspace and entrepreneurship incubator. So for the past couple of years, if there's one thing that happened exponentially in the library, it would be the makerspace. And here I just list very quickly the impact of the makerspace overall in the nation or worldwide. The Wired magazine editor-in-chief, he have a book about maker movement. He thinks that is the third industry revolution. So think about like in the whole human being history, we have only two, and this is the third one. Well, the history will prove if he's right or not, but this is certainly a very exciting time that we are at. And also, the White House, President Obama, last year, he announced this homemaker initiative, and he had this call to the nation of makers. In his mind, the way he's approaching it, he thinks this is an opportunity that we can change from, make it in other countries, in China, in Vietnam, in other countries, to make it back to make it in the United States. So to re-energize the manufacturing industry. And Time magazine said, like, is a maker, which I'm gonna show you guys, like, truly everybody, every faculty, every student, every staff is a maker. And so the White House has this maker initiative, which is I listed bottom right. So that is a map. All the dots there is the mayor of the city have committed to the president that they're gonna be having maker initiatives. And so maker movement have been influencing the higher education in a lot of ways, which I'm going to be explaining a little bit. So there are a lot of maker spaces in the library. For the past couple of years, there are a lot growing. Today, I'm going to be talking about at Laverne, what is our journey of making. Very quick background. Laverne is in 30 miles from Los Angeles. We're a private institution, a small private institution. We have about 8,000 students. The library budget size is $2 million. And we actually do not have engineer major. So the making journey at Laverne is very interesting. It all started with a 3D printer. So when we first, it's actually a loan from the physics department. They have this maker lot, like sitting there for 2 years, and then when we come over and say, can we loan it? And they said, sure, go ahead. So we bring it back, and then we put it in the very noticeable place in the library, and we just have it running. And then we didn't promote the services because we're still playing with it, and we don't know who's going to be actually using it. We just put it out there and have it printing. And guess what? The first faculty approached us, and he wanted us to print out something for him. And I personally don't think you would expect what kind of faculty it is. It is from humanities. So this faculty is teaching architecture, so he had us to print out the architecture for his student. And then we also have anthropology faculty who give us a whole website full of 3D objects, telling us print out everything, anything from this website. And we also have psychology faculty and mathematics faculty. So the whole 3D printing experience has been eye-opening to us. And so today, today's topic is focused on the student entrepreneurship. So I'm going to start to talk about our student journey. It's very interesting when I put together these pictures. It's kind of linear in a way, the development of our students' 3D literacy. So at the very beginning, I missed one. So this is one from our staff. He's the director of the our art exhibit. So this is one we did for him as well. And then the student at the very beginning, it's all pet related. They just sent us like rabbit, dogs, pet related. But then about like 3 months after we have the services, it started to be getting a little bit more practical. They started to print out like license plate, and then the bottom left, that is a jewelry box. We didn't take the internal support out yet, so that is very interesting. But we're waiting for that one project that is academic related, right? We're a university, we want them to be academic related. So finally, December of last year, we have our first 3D printed related project, which is a Fibonacci sequence. That is from the Math and Theater class. So the 3D printer kicked a start with the maker movement on campus. And then the more we're doing it, the more faculty talking to us, they say like, you know, you guys are library, you work with all disciplines. Can you start this interest group in the university? And maybe we can all talk about how we can provide more maker equipment, more maker technologies to the student. So we started that. We started to acquire more maker technologies. 3D scanner, 3D pen, Oculus Rift, Raspberry Pi, and Blender. So we just got it. Like, there's nobody have the expertise on our staff. Like myself, I don't really know like how to operate a lot of them. But we heavily rely on our student workers. Like they have this like enthusiasm. When they see this as a toy, they started to play with it. So we started to see, okay, can we, based on the maker technology we have here, can we have some sort of maker solutions to the existing library need? So my library director, she has been wanting to have a digital display system. But then if you go to the market industry, then you ask like how much is it? At least it's around like $1,000. So like we don't want to spend that much money. So we give this to one of our students using the Raspberry Pi. We asked him like, can you develop a digital display system that is up to the industry standard, yet costs like under $100 or $200? So it's very interesting, like the students take it back, they take it on their own, and then they develop this like little system within like 2 weeks or something. And then when I thanked him, I said like, thank you so much, Chris, for doing this for us. And this is what he said. He said like, you know, I'm doing this anyway at home, I'm playing. What you did is just give me what I'm doing, a purpose, a real purpose. So that is something very eye-opening experience to us. And then we started to ask more. Like we say, can you develop this like collaborative media table? Within like 2 days, he gave like the table is just a furniture table, but the technology behind it, where we can have if a good group of students sitting around the table, then if any of them want to project to the screen, like that is the collaborative table we're talking about. So he just used Chromecast and he told me he didn't develop anything. He just pick and choose existing technology. And also, we have students to develop the digital security system. Again, this is available in the industry already, but it costs like maybe like $400 or $500. But what he developed is like less than $200. But the idea is like, so this is the excitement of the maker movement. Like before, only industry can develop like high-end solutions, but now ordinary people like us, we have students from computer science, from physics. These are just ordinary students. We just give them project ideas. They do the research because they have the passion for it. So they make everything together and they figure out a solution. So now here comes the entrepreneurship in nature. So when we see, okay, the library can benefit from all of these systems, would our local community, like let's talk about local restaurant. If you go to a high-end restaurant, they have digital display, but it costs them. For a local little restaurant, they are not willing to pay like $1,000 or even $500 for this digital display. Can we make this solution available to them? Can we say, go and tell them, we will install this for you at a minimum cost, and maybe we will be able to provide you a service that we maintain it on monthly minimum fees possibility that we can maintain the digital display for you. So we have this idea of like, if we have the student develop the product already, can we promote it to market, the local business? Can we build a community partnership? So realizing we cannot really do it by ourselves, or we do not have enough staff, we piloted now this incubator program. It's very bad at it. It's only started like 2-3 months. we work with the business school. So in the business school, they have this business integrated business class. So about like 10 students, each semester they will pick up a product and they will try to sell it. So for this year, we asked them, can you pick our product? Can you pick this digital display system? So it's about like 10 students, and the instructor is a top company CEO. He has this passion for students. So he had the students to start to do the due diligence, have come up with like market plan, have the student talk to the subject matters expert, and then so what they're gonna do this year, they're gonna be presenting to the venture capitalists to present like 3 business models. Like last week, I just heard about this. Like at first, I thought they're gonna just be selling the product to the local community, but then they want to go a little bit higher to this. They want to develop this 3 service model, selling the hardware only, hardware plus services, hardware services plus advertisement. So that's the 3 service model they come up with. So by May, they're going to be presenting. So at that time, we'll be able to know. But the potential here is huge. We talked to the business school dean, and this is like the first time he ever said, like, you know, Amy, we start this class, but we actually don't know what to expect out of it. It might fail, it might succeed, but if it succeeds, then it gives us a lot of potential and possibilities. And if it fails, it's okay, because the faculty and students keep telling us that they are very excited about this project, because this is something that they work with real. That is the power of being real, and that's the power of like the student is able to actually work on something and then they're gonna actually sell it. So I hope next year we're gonna come back reporting like how successful or not successful it is. But I kind of want to, just by describing the whole journey, you might already notice, like, we did not have a very clear plan. Like, you know, we just put out a 3D printer, and then the faculty started approaching us because they see the library as the center of this interdisciplinary. So they asked us, and then we start to get more technology, and we see the student potential. We talked to the business school agreed to take this on. So this whole experience made me think a lot of potentials could come out of this, which I want to share with you. The possibility of the makerspace fundamentally changed how the university is going to operate. So a lot of discussion has been on this higher education. Like faculty-student relationship has been like, I teach you. But with so many teaching channels available right now, like you have YouTube channel, you have Open University, you have all this kind of like Code Academy, what should be the faculty's relationship? With the maker movement, with the makerspace, it might be the mentor relationship, the consulting relationship. So the makerspace might be able to fundamentally change how the university operates. And then think about this, the library is the unit leading this change on campus. So you might ask, like, why? Why library? Isn't there some other unit, like OIT or academic technology? So let's look at some unique advantages of library when we are leading this initiative. We are very interdisciplinary in nature. So anything we do, we open up to all the university community members. And then we open the longest on campus. Some of your libraries I know are open 24/7. That fit into the maker culture. And also, library is the largest academic unit on campus. Like, this is very interesting. Like, you know, you might have like a tutoring center, you might have like academic tech, but if you look at the library, we are the largest. We always have someone in the library helping people, and then those someone are the student. Like, I'm gonna emphasize on this, like, if we want to make this exciting, we involve the student workers. Like, have them pick and choose what they are interested in, have them go play with it. And then another possibility of library being perceived, like right now library is being perceived as we're nice to have. Like, it's nice to have a library, it's great to have. But how do we change ourselves from nice to have to must to have? Like, I always admire this like job, like accountant, right? Like, even if this company is in bankruptcy, he needs an accountant. Like, how do we change our library to be in that position? With the maker movement, we might be. Like, again, time will prove, but we might be. Why is that? Like, if we talk about there's only budget for one 3D printer in the university to buy, which unit should get that? Like, engineering, physics, No, it's a library because we serve everybody. So now we have a lot of opportunity to present to the administrator saying like, we have the opportunity with this cost, we can get this technology that can benefit all of the university members. So that's also another possibility. And then the possibility of generating revenue to create a self-sustainable business model that promotes innovation and entrepreneurship. So if we are able to sell, which I personally think we will, if we're able to sell the product to the venture capitalists, to the local community, and they're also talking about like promote it to the school system, then we'll be able to generate the income that will be able to feed back in. We can hire more student workers, and then we can have more business adventures. And then the business schools is like if we're successful on this, then we might start talking about like, can we start student company while they're in the university? And then the possibility of libraries makerspace positively affect admission, retention, job placement, revenue. I know a lot of administrators in the library are asked to provide data on this. Why makerspace library will affect admission? So I just heard this anecdotally, so we probably need data because makerspace is too new at this point. Case Western University, which is located in California, they are engineering school. So when they survey their incoming new student, 33% of the students pick the school solely because they have a makerspace. 33%. And then retention. If we are able to give students the real job experience by their third year, think about how that can play in the retention. Like if the students are able to start business, to start companies, if the students are able to develop product and actually can be able to put into the market, then that's the retention. Like the student would want to stay with this kind of university. And of course, job replacement. Like that's the real job experience we're going to be giving to students to put on their resume. And then revenue, of course. A lot of times I feel like, in the library, like, can we do as what Google do? Like Google, like, they start as search engine, and then they started like all this, they get into the library business, and then they started Google University. They step into other people's business, but then can library do the same thing, right? Like with the makerspace, can we start it to generate revenue? Like why we cannot? But the revenue we generate might not might not be a lot, but we can just enough to promote more students to become maker, to help them succeed. So with that, I'm gonna just close my presentation. I think there's a lot of potential with the makerspace, and because it is so new, so there are a lot of things that is yet to come and to be proved to be successful. So I just hope everyone here will be interested to start a makerspace. And just to sum up, if you want to just ask like one thing you want to start a makerspace is a 3D printer and put it by the entrance so that everybody can see. Then you don't even need to promote. People are going to come to you. Okay, thank you so much.
Wow, how to follow that, my goodness. A quick question, if I may. In the audience, how many of you are affiliated with academic institutions? Okay, and public libraries? Okay. Special libraries? Very cool. So this is like across the board. And out of that, how many of you already are doing makerspace stuff? Wow, well done. I mean, you're doing God's work, right? So we're preaching to the choir here. Let's see, actually, I should have gone ahead to fire up this presentation. Got it on the desktop.
Oh, right there.
Well done. Okay, so since, wow, there's probably an unhealthy number of academics in the room. But I'm Todd Goldgrove. My background is, well, I'm a physicist, and along the way getting my PhD in physics and master's, I turned into a serial entrepreneur, so I started creating businesses. And then there's a saying in the Chinese that says it's much easier to climb on top of the tiger than it is to get back off. So after 15 years, I was finally able to climb back off of the tiger, and in the words of a colleague, use my powers for good instead of evil, which you'll all appreciate means the library. So I got my library degree and signed on. And actually, in 2010, I was named the head of the De La Mer Library on the campus of the University of Nevada, Reno. Since we're all kind of disappointed that we're not getting to see the cherry blossoms right now. You know, the peak bloom date is the end of this month. We'll figure. Here's some, not cherry blossoms, but blossoms in front of the library, which is kind of fun. Actually, the D103 library is an interesting challenge because it's in one of the oldest buildings on campus. It was literally the third building made. The campus traces its roots back to 1874, and this building was in place at the first graduating class. So you might expect problems with power and all sorts of things, and sure enough. So if you're interested in some of the specifics, over the course of time, it's grown from a graduating class of 4 to now typically 3,000 every semester. We've got on the order of 913 regular academic faculty and another 700-ish non-academic faculty. 145 plus degrees. It's a buffet and it's sort of terrifying. And right in the heart of all of this is the library. So in 2010, this is what the library looked like to me. This is what it looked like inside. You'll all have seen similar things, right? I mean, nobody was coming to the library. Why is that? And yet with the makerspace, the activity has really come back to life. This was actually a sign that was made by one of our 3D wranglers in response to the question, how do we keep people like me from compulsively pushing buttons on the machine when they're working? So he designed this and made it, actually 3D printed that. But it's a metaphor for the description of what is happening in the library. We started by talking with the community of the library and saying, why aren't you guys here? You should be. This is at the heart of the campus. The place should be crawling with you, and yet nobody's in here. Well, the no food and drink policy had a lot to do with it. Quiet library policy had a lot to do with it. I talked with the dean and said, you know, scientists and engineers are known for a lot of things. Being quiet, going for long periods without food and drink, probably not on that list. So we revoked those, and the kids started coming in. We started talking with them. They needed whiteboards to do their learning, this knowledge creation, so we got some. One thing led to another, and before you know it, we've got in a library that's over 22,500 square feet of floor space, there's over 20,000 square feet of whiteboard writable surfaces. And at times that's not enough because these kids are bright. You've got to get things out of your head onto a surface where you can dialogue with other people. So that started, and then we started doing some outreach events. This is a particularly notorious one. But it goes back to what this morning's keynote speaker was talking about, right? How do we create knowledge? If we're all packing around iPhones or Samsungs or tablets and we can immediately access information, and by and large Google is getting much better at anticipating our questions and doing our old school librarian approach of let me help you find the information because we anticipate it. Scary that Google can anticipate that. How can we broker the understanding, the creation of knowledge, because maybe Google's doing us a favor by handling the access side, and we can focus on our true art form, which is encouraging the creation of knowledge. And in this case, it's knowledge of how do locks work, and in particular, how can I pick a lock? Which you might expect is a very interesting workshop for the engineers and the scientists and the artists. We regularly, when we have this event, it's standing room only. It's a library workshop that goes over 4 hours without stopping. I give my eye teeth to have that happen in other workshops. We started provisioning lendable technology, including Lego Mindstorms. Why? Because all the engineers use the Lego Mindstorms in their first class at university. But if you're not in the College of Engineering, you don't get to go hands-on with them. You don't get to play with those toys. Why? Because they belong to the College of Engineering. Well, what if you're a mathematics major? What if you're a business major or a science major? Surely you can learn, there are things you can learn about programming from playing with Legos if you did as a kid. So those are regularly used. We fairly early on started making drone quadcopters accessible for a similar reason. They had a programmable API. We have since stopped lending drones, and that's because the state of Nevada is an official drone test site, and the university attorneys are very concerned that we might be violating the law, and we don't want to risk that test site status. 3D printers came shortly after that, very early in 2012, like you all are providing 3D printing services. But the exciting part is going beyond, as Amy was mentioning, this is a cute tchotchke. I mean, how many TARDISes can you print? But there's still something magic about, wait a minute, you can print this out of nothing? And that's where our job comes in as librarians, to sort of step in when they're open and susceptible to that, right? That's when we can begin connecting them with, yeah, you can even make your own idea. You want to draw something on a piece of paper? I can hook you up with lynda.com. You can teach yourself how to extrude this. You can actually make this object out of your head. And what we saw relatively quickly is that by doing that, we shifted from when we first started 3D printing, over 80% of the things that printed were things downloaded from Thingiverse or GraphGen. Within 6 months, those numbers flipped. Now it's over 80% of the things that print have never existed before. Think about that for a moment. This is a tacit example. There are very few things that we can point to in the academic world to say, look, I can prove that someone learned something. But this, a 3D printed object that came out of their head that never existed before, is one of them. So that's awesome. And the neat part about it is that you can, they're taking it places like this. This kid taught himself using library resources how to crosswalk a protein database file that comes out of their detector, their instrument in the lab, to 3D print this out as a molecule that could be handled. Amazing, exciting stuff. We launched into programmables with the Arduino SparkFun Inventor Kits, Raspberry Pis, and others. Robots started immediately taking shape out of the most unlikely subjects. Folks that might be studying political science were all of a sudden learning how to program and building robots. And playing with things, I refer to these sorts of things like the Makey kit here with the very approachable, brightly colored Play-Doh and wires as gateway drugs. Because that's the business that we're in, right? Come on, let me show you this. This is a very pretty little thing. You can begin playing with it. And oh, by the way, can I interest you in this SparkFun Arduino Inventor Kit? And away you go. The first thing you know, they're actually creating brand new things that have never existed, just like they did with the 3D printer. In fact, this student, I kick myself every time I think about this. This is actually a snapshot of a DIY, well, it's university, so this is a very practical invention. This is a DIY breathalyzer. So we could blow into the tube and measure the blood alcohol level, which at the time, several years ago, I had never seen something like that before. The only people that had it were policemen. I've since, and you've seen them now since, in the airports. Yeah, you can buy this little handheld widget. It's a DIY breathalyzer. You can buy that mated with an app so that your iPhone can tell you. Good Lord, this boy should be far wealthier than he is right now. And I just am sorry I didn't hook him up with that again. So we've gone since into other more rabble-rousy sorts of things. Laser cutters, one of them. Vinyl cutters, also very exciting. CNC mill. This vinyl cutter, this laser cutter is an example of what happens when resources are available to bright young minds. This happened at the end of the last semester as we were going into finals week. Student was stressed out, wanted to do something other than what he was supposed to be doing, and so he laser cut a checkers board. And since it just sees all kinds of use. Well, why? Because you can. That's good. When we start, limbering up those muscles and the shutters open in the mind on creativity, and they can start making things like printed circuit board mills or programmable 360 video with the Oculus Rift. Again, the vinyl cutter is another one of those gateway drugs. It's a two-dimensional image. But if you want to put that sticker on your MacBook badly enough that you're willing to learn how to fire up Photoshop and get in there and start doing some basic image literacies, you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from three-dimensional literacies. And that's when you're doing this, we keep reminding these kids, put it on your resume, put it on your resume, because not everyone can do this. You know what you're just doing right now? You're doing 3D modeling. You can do Photoshop. Well, everyone can do it. No, they can't. And in fact, that's why all of our kids that have worked with us in the library supporting this launched directly into exciting jobs. The jobs I give my IT to do. We had, Ryan, who just graduated a few months ago in business, who's now managing essentially the makerspace at the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California. It's like, what? Wow, yeah, and it's because this is what you're doing. This is why I'm saying you're doing God's work. You're really supporting this. This is an example of a new, relatively new resource that we offer in the library, soldering stations, right next to sewing stations. And they go hand in glove when you're dealing with wearable electronics. Interestingly enough, even though I kicked hard against both of these going into place, Tara actually twisted my arm. And what it took is one of our staff who just circumvented and hotwired the whole system. He basically went down to the store and bought this with his own money and came back and said, here, I'm donating this to the library. Try to give that back. And so we put it in place, and immediately it started seeing so much use that we've had to multiply. We have multiple lendable soldering stations that regularly see use as these kids are working with things. And with that said, I mean, this is sort of the mindset, one of these subversive kids, something I've done about all this creativity. But I'll hand this over then to my colleague Tara, who's far more adept at this. Good stuff.
So I'm just going to focus a little bit more on the exact services and maybe resources and the nitty-gritty. Todd is obviously our brilliant leader with the big picture, and I have to do this stuff. Oh, yeah? Better. Okay. Oh, dear. There we go. So I'm going to talk about some of the individual services. So as Todd mentioned, we went from 80-20 of like thingovers, trinkets to original, never created objects. So how does that happen? Because that's what we're talking about a lot with these makerspaces. Yes, it's neat, but how do we make it applicable, especially in an academic library? How do you go from downloading the Batman cookie cutter off of Thingiverse, which is really rad, but going into something, this is actually one of our prized students, Will, who has wired in, completed a robotic hand, 3D printed the parts for that hand, assembled it, working on an entire upper part of an Android. The laser cutter, it's the gateway drug to the library makerspace. And you can see on the left, we just have phone cases being engraved left and right, keychains, things like that. But how do we get students to move and think about it using it in original ways? On the bottom right is actually some work done by one of our art professors. His name's Joe DeLapp, and he's quite famous for these stamps that he laser cuts on our laser cutter. And you can order them from his website. But so how can we get students to make this transition? And really what we're asking is how do you make students go from clicking download and copying and pasting to really, and this is high level stuff, developing program skills, hardware skills, 3D modeling skills, and all of these sorts of other things. And this immediately bleeds over into entrepreneurship. And so how do we start a business? How do we start coping with some of these questions? I've been arguing for a while, there's lots of new literacies we need to address beyond information in the library. Computational. Todd mentioned a few of the lendables we have, but we have the Leap, Google Glass, Apple Watch, Oculus Rift, Arduinos, Raspberry Pis. These are all things that can be developed for, and we encourage. When we purchase some of this equipment, and some of it we have here, if you want to come look at it afterwards, a lot of these types of things I'll talk about that you can actually, students can make their own accounts to the developer communities, and sometimes there's only one account with whoever purchased it. Well, the library has gone out of our way, we make sure that that's freely available to any person who checks out our equipment. There's design skills. Photoshop and Illustrator, SolidWorks, is our 3D modeling software that's heavily used by the engineering community. If you're not familiar with Onshape and you're looking for a free 3D modeling software, that is the premier 3D modeling software that's free. Much better than Google SketchUp or Blender. And I also argue for things like tool and construction literacy. In a makerspace, there's soldering, there's sewing, but there's a lot of what we call reverse engineering happening. And having people there to kind of walk people through that process, it starts changing the way they start thinking about projects and approaching them. So there's lots of ways we can address these new literacies that we're doing in DLMR. One, of course, is workshops. Sometimes I teach them, sometimes some of my co-librarians teach them. We have student workers who teach them, and I'll talk a little bit more. Those are our expert staff. And the tool workshop, that tool is TOOL, is the Locksport workshop that Todd mentioned. We actually bring in outside experts to do these workshops as well. We, of course, do in-class lessons, which is pretty fun for the sciences and engineering, because a lot of times those professors will not take the time to let us come in and talk about information literacy, but they will invite me to teach a 3D modeling class where I can put plugs in for all the other stuff the library does. I've taught numerous art classes in the makerspace,
everything from laser cutting and Photoshop design to vinyl cutting to eventually do screen printing, which was a really fun class. And other non-engineering classes, I've taught 3D modeling to history classes, environmental science, sociology. We do a ton of GIS work. There's a really interesting class project right now utilizing homeless populations and mapping them utilizing GIS, which then we can do some data visualization with, which is also belongs in the first place. Some of the workshops we do, you speak to your population, right? Customize your Greek paddle. Oh man, we just had too many kids coming in to use the laser cutter to cut an inch thick paddle. So we decided we're going to do a workshop for you. You all have to come in at the same time. We laser cut pumpkins. These are gateway drug type of activities again. And of course the middle, you can see on the pumpkin, it's Todd throwing an airplane. I'll show the real picture a little bit later. Our students had a hell of a time doing that. They thought it was so great. And then we surprised Todd on Monday morning with this pumpkin with his face on it. And we also offer, last semester I had 2 of my tech wranglers, I'll talk about them in a little bit, do intro to 3D modeling classes every other Tuesday, I think it was. And they were themed, but it was these kind of easily accessible classes that you could walk in without any prior knowledge and walk away with something that could be printed. And those were popular. We also utilize a lot of learning aids. Todd mentioned lynda.com. If you have a subscription to that, by all means you should be pointing your students to it at any given time. I use lynda.com all the time. I also like to stress the online developer communities. There's also things that come with the products. Actually, we have lots of books like how to program Lego Mindstorms and things of that nature, along with Arduinos and those types of things. And when you're purchasing your products, make sure you're looking for any sort of additional add-on accessories that help teach it. We purchased the SparkFun Arduino kit, the Inventor kit, on purpose because it comes with a phenomenal booklet that walks you through from creating a blinky light to doing some really hardcore programming. So those types of resources are invaluable because they can be checked out or taken and used by the patron wherever they are. I stress developer communities. Everything that we lend out has to be used in a functional way. So we have the Oculus Rift, and I understand that it gets used a lot for gaming, and that's okay. There's also the possibility that once a student gets hooked on that they can then go to the developer site, and we provide resources as well in our ViaWorks South Lab, that they can do programming and create their own virtual world utilizing these types of programs. LEAP has a great online community. A lot of these types of products have online developer communities that you don't have to be the expert. You can send your student here. You can help them search the forums. I think this is one of the last ones I'm going to talk about is consultation service. This has been, I think, the key in making that switch over for so many people in our community. So if you go to our website on the right-hand side, there's little consultations we offer. One-on-one consultations in ArcGIS, Photoshop, and Tech Wranglers. Tech Wranglers will offer 3D printing, 3D scanning, laser, vinyl cutting. They'll do some Photoshop as well. One-on-one consultations with anybody. We're a land-grant institution. Outreach is a huge part of our mission. And we get a lot of community members who come in who just don't have access to these resources any other way. And they can come in, just like any of our students, and make appointments with a Tech Wrangler. So I just throw this up here because I wanted to point out that many of us use SpringShare products. And if you use LibCal, I think you get 5 free room bookings. And we don't use that system for study rooms at UNR, but I actually utilize those 5, and I created ArcGIS, Tech Wranglers, and I treat them as rooms, and you can create this bookable system. So on the bottom, you can see that Dwight was available a lot on Sunday, and so people can go in and click on 2 times lots at a time, and book these students. So Dwight and Sierra, that's Sierra with Todd. They sit at a Tech Wrangler desk that's right next to the information desk. So it's right when you walk in the door, it's the first thing you see. They're available pre-booking, but you can also just do a walk-up if they're available. Dwight and Sarah both happen to be junior mechanical engineering students, though I want to stress that one of our first Tech Wranglers, she's since graduated and done amazing things, was actually just a design student, communications and design. So really all you need is somebody who's interested in 3D modeling, who's interested in design work, and they will take off and run with it. During these consultations, they'll do anything from teaching a community member the basics of Tinkercad and Onshape
just getting started with 3D modeling, to we do a lot of troubleshooting. We have community members who know how to 3D model, but something's not working right with their model. Maybe the animation in SolidWorks is showing something's incorrect. These thinkers, our two tech wranglers, are just experts at what they do, and it's just because they've been doing it for a number of years now. But they can reverse engineer that problem. They can help brainstorm with these community members. A lot of times when we're talking about innovation and entrepreneurship, it's all about bouncing ideas off each other. And that's a lot of what our job is. It's just listening and trying to brainstorm. And we've instilled that in our student workers as well. I'm also going to talk a little bit about intellectual property services that we offer in support of the makerspace. So when 80% of the things that you're printing or even laser cutting have never existed before, there's definitely a lot of IP concerns as far as, and I don't care if somebody 3D prints a Disney keychain. That's on them, don't sell it, whatever. I'm more concerned with, that is awesome, that breathalyzer, had I been working at D103 then. That's amazing, let's get your IP protected. This is yours, you should own this. And a lot of students have no idea what a patent entails or that you can trademark something. So we have lots of new businesses, never before created prototypes. We actually have a wonderful local startup community in Reno. It's really exciting. And that's actually provided a lot of resources for me to then pass on to the students. As the engineering librarian, I'm also our patent representative. So I go to DC at the end of the month again, where I'll go to the USPTO and I get training on this. So I come back every year and I make a lot of consultation appointments. I provide lots of resources like this. On a nice little, in the bottom left, you can see I just have a stand of resources. And it was essentially a pretty soft launch of the consultation and patent services. I just put these out. I asked one of my students to make a creative sign, and that's what she made, of course. And then pretty soon, now I would say at least once a week, probably twice a week, people who I have never met before, students, community members, are making appointments with me to talk about patents. This is something a lot of kids, a lot of students, a lot of faculty members, I've even helped out faculty members, even though we have a tech transfer office on campus. The library is where they come when they have questions. And so it's been really amazing to help walk people through that patent process. Todd mentioned in a previous life he was a serial entrepreneur, and we definitely take advantage of that. Just last 2 weeks ago, I discovered the difference between an S Corp and an LLC, and Todd was away, and I correctly advised the student to go with an LLC. But I get to learn all of this as well, and I tell the students, I'm not a lawyer, clearly I am Googling this in front of your eyes, but we can talk about this, and we can bounce ideas off each other, and I think we're pretty two intelligent people, we can come up with the right idea. And if we weren't providing these resources in the library, I don't know where any of these undergrad students would be getting this sort of one-on-one assistance. Another thing that we offer is a lot of connections to the outside world. I don't know about your university or your institutions, but ours kind of is the white tower on the hill. We're trying to break down that perception and really integrate ourselves into the community. But for a long time, there's been this history of the university and then Reno. So librarians, I always argue, are natural connectors. So we know our public librarians, we know the special libraries in town. We have these integrated networks just by our nature and our profession. In this picture, you'll see Todd is introducing one of our engineering students who is working on a project to the president of the university. This is a type of connection that the students love. Us being able to say, oh, President Johnson, come look and see what Mark is working on. On the right, of course, we have another one of our D103 staff members assisting a student with some design work. But this is just an example of some of the people that we've connected with in our community that have really beneficial results for our students. The top middle is the Economic Development Authority of Western Nevada, which is EDON, we call it. And they are a huge player in our community, and they're a huge supporter of entrepreneurship. I'll brag a little bit. We were named D103 Science and Engineering Library, a small branch library on the university campus, was named Reno's most innovative space last year. Because they were seeing more businesses come out of D103 than anywhere else in northern Nevada, which is pretty astounding. And they have been such a resource for us. They have VPs of entrepreneurship who regularly spends time with D103, just figuring out what are students working on, how can I connect? And when a student comes to me and says, I got a patent, and I say, yay, now you need venture capitalists. some funding. If you don't want to kickstart, let me hook you up with Doug Irwin. So being that connector, we can help students get to that next step in the entrepreneurship process. We also put on, D. La Mer is the main producer for the Reno Mini Maker Fair, which is just another opportunity for your students to show off their stuff. We encourage a lot of we say our D. La Mer students, and that doesn't mean student workers. They are ours, of course. But we mean that every kid that walks into our building is a D. La Mer kid. And we encourage them to come to show off their stuff at things like the Reno Mini Maker Fair, and it's been really beneficial. We were also a key partner in the Nevada Innovation Center. It's correctly spelled on purpose, I guess. But this is a new space in downtown Reno where we want community members, entrepreneurs mingling with students who have great ideas. And because they were seeing it happen in D. La Mer, they wanted to see it happening downtown, right in the thick of things. We also partner with Microsoft. Todd is going to be giving a talk about a hackathon later. So there are companies in your community who are natural partners, especially when you're talking about things with makerspaces. Just a couple of the great things we've seen come out of here. These are some of our kiddos, D. La Mer alum, that created a website called Dringo, which connects students to employers, whether it be for a job or do you have a class project? Amy was mentioning class projects from the communities. This is a Kickstarter. So this is actually a USB-sized device that holds about 1 terabyte of memory via micro SD cards. And this was made by one of our community members. His name is Jason. He came in all the time to work on his 3D model for the case, to think about the electronics. He picked our tech wranglers' brains all the time. And it was a phenomenal process. And our kids learned so much from working with him. And Jason went all the way through the process and is getting it manufactured. And I know we even got a shout out on his Kickstarter campaign, which was fun. And also we have the Sontag Entrepreneurship Competition. You can see, if you read a little bit, the final prize is $50,000. This is a big competition in Northern Nevada. We regularly now get Sontag participants directed towards D. La Mer so that we can help them with the next step. So there's a preliminary round, and then there becomes finalists. And those finalists now come into D. La Mer and say, how can you help me? What can I do? Just last week, I hooked up a student who is working on a better football helmet, one that will protect from concussion. And he wants to 3D model some prototypes. And I said, oh, that's just what we do. Here's Sierra, my tech wrangler. And he just sat down. And the next day, I get an email from this master's student just saying how wonderful this surface was and how much help it was. And he's already learning how to 3D model himself now. So those are the kinds of stories that we get on a daily basis. This is our little award that we won. And that's all we're going to talk about. This is the photo that one of my students made into a pumpkin, by the way. I guess we'll take some questions.
Absolutely. We've got about 10 minutes if there are any questions.
My question for Amy in particular, when you were talking about networking with the restaurants, you mentioned minimal costs. Were you defining that just the filament or by work hours? And then for the other speakers, do you actually do anything on a cost recovery basis? How do you recoup funds for your 3D printing?
So for the local restaurant, so we were talking about but minimum is just our hardware cost, which is for the digital display, maybe around $50, and then each month maybe a service fee around $10 per ad, if they want to put out. So that's all the costs we're thinking.
Oh, we're not progressing the internet? Okay. I don't know, it wasn't acting like it. We do cost recovery on everything. So our 3D modeling, our laser cutting is free because we don't provide any materials. People have to bring them in themselves. The 3D modeling, anybody can email me for how I figure it out, but we include the cost of the material. I also include, a slight charge for maintenance kits. So we've been fortunate in that we've been 3D printing now for 4 years. And so I can look back at the last year and say, last year we 3D printed 2,000 some objects. I can take what my maintenance package costs. I can take, I do maintenance. There's actually the maintenance package, and then there's little individual kits and things of that nature, and I divide it by the total number. So yes, I actually charge for model and support material. We figured those out.
And we also have a Z printer, which prints in plaster. We do the same thing. And if anybody's ever curious, I'm happy to share all my spreadsheets. We do recharge for those things.
And how long did it take you to come up with those models?
Oh, yes.
I'll just qualify that we have a remarkable budget for supplies of like zero, absolutely no money at all. And we're not allowed to make a profit on any of the students, faculty or staff, so we have to go through this sort of arduous procedure to make sure that we're not making a profit.
We can't be in the red and we can only be a certain percentage in the black.
Which is an interesting problem in that you can't get there from here, but that's the way universities build policies, right? So, sorry, if that answers the question. Yes.
Does your institution have a technology fee, and if so, does any of it go towards your makers?
Did you want to answer that?
I think we have a technology fee, but I don't think we use that fee to fit into our cost. I think for the library right now is the library is picking up part of the cost for the 3D printing, but because it's pretty low at this point, we're lucky, so we're okay right now.
And at the University of Nevada, we do have a technology fee. We don't get any monies out of that for the equipment that goes into the makerspace. That said, we're sort of subversively approaching it in that all of the computers in the library get refreshed every 3 years out of that technology fee. And some of the software packages are paid for out of it. So we're leveraging the heck out of that. And so it's like, we're paying for part of SolidWorks. Great, we're going to blow that open more widely and make sure that it's accessible everywhere. All of the equipment that we have, beyond our initial funding for the 3D printer that was sort of cobbled together out of operating and gift funds, all the rest of the funds that have paid for the laser cutter, the print circuit board mill, the other Z printer, have come directly out of the Office of the Vice President for Research and Innovation, because he's values the innovation that he sees there and he wants to see more of it. And I tell him we need more stuff to make that happen. And so then he gets to own it. So that's been working to some extent.
Could you speak a little bit more about your communication strategies, your marketing and publicity campaigns that help you connect resources, people, entrepreneurs, and therefore enable innovation?
We don't do active marketing, like many libraries. We don't have anything for that. Huh? Yes, we do tweets. And Facebook is probably our heaviest use of marketing. It's our most active, I would say, with our student population. Utilizes that. Todd and I tweet. The library does tweet. We Instagram as well. Really, the connections that we do for outreach. We do a lot of community events. We do our dog and pony show, we call it, a lot. So I would say in a given year, I'm sure we do a dozen events out in the community. We'll go to schools that ask us to come. We'll go to fairs in the community, art fairs, even things like that, of that nature. Whenever we get a new piece of equipment or something that we think will be of interest to particular communities, in other sessions, they've talked about the artist community and how important that is to the success of your makerspace. Especially in this picture, I'm actually 3D scanning my face. The 3D scanners are actually a phenomenal tool for a lot of sculptors in your community. And so we reached out. We're in Burning Man country, if you're familiar with that. So we have a wealth of really amazing artist talent in our community. And we reached out to them to let them know that not only did we get the laser cutter, but now we have these 3D scanners so we can do some modeling for you, things of that nature.
In fact, a perfect example of that I neglected to throw out there is a sculptor from a neighboring city created a sculpture of Leonardo da Vinci's head because the theme of Burning Man this year is Leonardo's workshop. But they lacked the critical path piece of how do we turn this into a model that we can turn into a CNC thing that we can actually create this 70 feet tall out of wood in the shop. And that's where the library and these wranglers came in. So the person brought the model in, we helped them scan the model, turn it into a thing, build that connection. And I would answer your question in terms of marketing. It's exactly how you all network in this room. I mean, I'm a big believer in one person at a time. That's the only way that I've ever built a network. And I think that in this community, in this day of social networking, It's never been more powerful. If you build a connection with one person, you're immediately one step away from the hundreds, if not thousands of people that they're already connected to. So it's just a matter of being authentic and repeatedly reaching out again and again. The one thing that Tara really hit the nail on the head with is it's outreach. We say no actually, we don't say no nearly often enough, in honesty. How often do we say it? Generally, if someone calls and says, hey, can we bring our class through and give them the show? Can we bring the Chamber of Commerce through? Will you give them the Dog and Pony Show? So much so that we call it a Dog and Pony Show that is canned, and we can do it like in 5 minutes notice. So we do that all the time. I mean, we reached thousands of people last year with that. And each of those people now know, wow, this can happen, and they know a bunch of people so that when opportunity presents, they can connect us. And I think that works wonders in the business community. I mean, if you have at least a degree removed from someone else. I don't know if that's working for you anymore.